Last time when we spoke, we talked about spirituality attracting older kind of audiences and viewers. I mean, and the answer that you've given me before is that it's for everybody who wants to achieve, clarity within themselves. And what surprised me the most was that you yourself are Gen Z. Was there some kind of came into your life that made you come into spirituality at such a young age?
No, there was nothing happened, the general understanding that something has to happen to be able to come into spirituality or, start practicing that. However, I think I was just introduced to this knowledge through a friend of my mother. And while my mother decided to go, she asked me if I wanted to accompany her. And my first experience of starting to do the meditation course was really wonderful. I really resonated very well with the clarity. And I found everything to be very logical and scientific. So it worked. I didn't have any reason to not take up meditation as a daily practice. I found it very practical. And since then, many experiences of how beneficial this has been for me. So, yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, what age were you when you started going down this route of spirituality?
Yeah. I'd say with the Brahma Kumaris, I started when I was 16 years old. Before that, I went to a Christian school, and so I was introduced to the Bible and lots of prayers and songs. So that was part of our daily, assembly. And I guess I didn't pay a lot of attention at that time, just being a young kid. However, I felt that, it was really valuable to me, even in those times. And after that, I did practice again by chance. It wasn't that I was looking for something, but I think I was always very good with something that has some discipline. So another friend of, again, my mother asked her to join one of the Buddhism classes. So Buddhism, it's a Nichiren Buddhism, a specific type of Buddhism which involves chanting and understanding the law of karma and everything. And she couldn't go. She had commitments at work. So she asked me if I can just, go there as a sign of respect to the friend that invited her. And as I went there, I didn't have anybody of my age, very frankly. However, I just liked it. I didn't have any resistance or opposition to any idea talking about energy or anything. I think I felt very comfortable. It wasn't that I was doing something beforehand, but we can say it's karma or something, that destiny, that it was very comfortable. And so for 3 years, since I was 13 years till about 16, I practiced Buddhism on a daily basis, and which really deepened my knowledge or understanding of the world. And then since I've taken up a daily practice of meditation, then that's me.
Okay, wow, that's pretty spiritual right from the get-go, from 3 years onwards.
Yeah, I definitely feel that nobody would agree. If anyone who knows me wouldn't agree with that statement, but yes, I can understand that, telling this story like this, it does seem very spiritual, but people who know me probably wouldn't agree.
Well, you're here now and you're dedicating your full time to helping others to provide meditation courses. And it's a very big step to go from, casually listening to meditation or doing meditation yourself to dedicating full time effort to a center of Brahma Kumaris in Australia. So why that full dedication, like the full-time dedication to this all of a sudden?
I guess I wish I knew the answer. However, I feel that one thing led to the other, and it's I get that question quite a lot. I get that question asked quite a lot, and I have to prepare an answer. But really, there's no answer other than destiny, or um, I feel just I can say one thing for sure, that I had really strong experiences and very strong connection with the Supreme Being, and a very deep realization of the soul's divine and true beauty, um, right when I started doing the course, which probably may not be the case for a lot of people. People look for um, want to have an experience and things like that. However, for me, it was very, very natural, almost like a gift. And I didn't plan these things. I didn't plan things to go in this direction. In fact, I never even thought that I'd be doing anything like this, even in my wildest dreams. However, I think just that inclination and that experience of God's love was very, very strong.
As I would say, it's probably your calling, and
Yeah.
have to sometimes trust your inner instincts, and I think that's what you've done. So, coming to another topic. Okay. So one of the quotes, Sister Ananya, that I actually heard in your course when I did it at the end of last year was an Albert Einstein quote, and it said that no problem can be solved with the same level of consciousness that created it. Now, I mean, it was a very deep quote for me at the time, and it resonated, but could you just expand for our viewers what you understand this quote to mean?
Yes, I think whenever there is a problem, in the physical world, or so to say, in our life situations, we can very easily trace that, what sort of level of consciousness has created that problem. And in order to solve it, or in order to come out of that problem or go beyond that problem, it is very obvious that we have to adapt a higher consciousness, than the one that created the problem. So all it means is that it's sort of like a message that we need to expand our consciousness. And now, like the problem is always at the shown at a lower level. And so if I need to solve the problem, I need to come out of that and go at a higher consciousness, higher level, vibration wise. And then when I come back to the problem with a changed mindset, that is when I can truly solve it. So that is what the aim is of spirituality.
So, Sister Ananya, just breaking that down into even more simplistic terms, what is consciousness first?
Consciousness would be, what am I conscious of, or what am I aware of? My awareness. And so within the spiritual side of things, with the spiritual perspective, our reference point is always the truth, the eternal, immortal truth. And so when we start to become aware of the truth, truth of our own being, becoming conscious of who I am, becoming conscious of my role, that is how, when we shine the light on the truth, then all the shadows or the unpleasant experiences or the mindsets within the consciousness, they start to fade away. So so to say, the egoistic side of things. So being conscious, being aware of the truth is what the aim of spirituality is, or is what the aim of meditation is.
Staying with the levels of consciousness, and I'm going to show it on the screen for the viewers. There is a diagram by David R. Hawkins. And in that diagram, I mean, he's talking about level of consciousness. And in terms of emotions, what he says is fear, grief, apathy, guilt, shame. These are all on the bottom of the level of consciousness. Could you expand a bit more on that diagram?
Yes. So the aim is to feel, 100% secure at all times. And that aim can only be achieved when I'm very clear of my identity, of my true identity. And so my true identity is of being immortal, being eternal. And so anytime that there is confusion for what my identity is, then we start to identify with things that I am not, things that are not my total, individuality, so to say. So whenever I start to identify with things that I'm not, for example, with a position, with profession, with nationality, religion. So the true identity of the soul, whenever I confuse that with anything to do in this external world, with this physical world, then there will be a drop in the consciousness. There's an automatic, as a result of that, there's a drop in the consciousness, which creates a very subconscious insecurity. How do we know that there is the identification of the true me is not on the basis of truth? We can understand this when we get offended easily. Somebody may be talking about a politician or a movie star, and I don't even know that person directly, or I don't even know that person, personally. But then if somebody passes a comment for that individual, I feel offended. And so which shows that, which is a hint that I have based my identity of who I am with something outside. And so whenever, we do this, unconsciously, and we become in unawareness, whenever this happens, then the consciousness goes down and there is insecurity. And with insecurity, it's like a downward spiral. With insecurity, there will be guilt, there'll be shame, there'll be all these, emotions, vibrations that you just mentioned. And, shame and guilt, it is like, it was tested by science that it's the same vibration of, of the vibration of a graveyard, where there are mortal bodies. That's the same frequency of when somebody is experiencing guilt and shame. And so if we have to come out of this downward spiral, there has to be clear understanding and clear awareness of my true identity. And with that true identity, there is natural appreciation for the true self. There is bliss, there's peace, there is self-respect, self-confidence. With that, 100% security comes into place.
Wow. I mean, and in today's world, including myself, guilt and shame are such common emotions time to time that we experience. And it's such a profound statement that you made, that it's similar to a graveyard. Wow. And so what's the step to come out of all of this?
In this consciousness, chart that we see, it is, we can see that there is one, one virtue, which is in the middle of, there's a downward spiral and there's an upward spiral. And in the center of that, the quality is that changes. That's the transformation point, the point that, you're out of all the self-imposed prisons, is that virtue of courage. For courage, every religion or many religions say that when we take one step of courage, there are 1,000 steps of help from the universe, from the supreme, which is available to us. So to go from the downward spiral to the upward spiral, the quality that we're looking for is courage. Courage, completely being aware of my true self, and then having the courage to say it or show it in action, taking steps, and that is what courage is.
Yes, it's super important, that word. So, Sister Ananya, ego says, because you talked about ego and you talked about many other things, but ego says to ourselves, I know it all. Humility says, actually, I know that I don't know it all. What do you think about this statement?
Yes, it's a beautiful statement. And because, whenever we confuse our identity with something that we're not, like having a false identity. So that false identity is called the ego. And so there is a deep understanding that I know it, that I am this. And whereas humility is a natural quality of the soul. Humility, as we all would agree that we always appreciate someone who's humble. We always like to have humble people around us, and we'd always appreciate, the quality of humility. However, sometimes, because of confusion, sometimes feel, being humble is being weak or being meek. However, humility, as you said, that it's the natural nature of the soul, where the soul, respects the true qualities and never feels that we have stopped learning or I have learned everything. Because as we are in this journey of life, we're always learning, and there's, unlimited scope of improvement. And for a soul that is really conscious of the self, like soul conscious, they have this natural quality of humility, which is, which means that I'm constantly learning, that attitude that of a student towards life. And ego doesn't want to learn, and ego will not have an attitude of learning towards life. Ego will feel that I already know it all, I don't need to be told, and I don't need to be so humility is the exact opposite. Yeah,
that's a very profound answer. We are so used to multitasking that our mind works on multiple tracks all the time. There's so much occupying everyone's mental space today that, focusing on what is in the present is very difficult. I mean, right now I'm having a conversation with you, and based on my learnings, I am actually present and actually listening. But there are times where I have had conversations where I've been talking to somebody, but because my mental space is so occupied, suddenly I'm somewhere else, and I'm not even present to the situation that I'm actually in. How important is it to being present, and how can you achieve that for those that are not?
I think, as you said, that we should have this quality of being able to focus on what we decide that needs our attention. And so if that is missing, I want to give my attention to something for 15 minutes and my mind is going in a different direction, then it means that it's very important for us to be present. And as much as we talk about unmasking the soul, taking out all the masks and coming back to the true self, it is also important to untask the soul. And for what happens is that, the mind, which is one of the faculties of the soul, whenever the mind starts to identify with the physical world and puts labels as this is me, my profession is me, my age is me, my gender is who I am, the language I speak is who I am. And the more small little I's, the mind creates, then the more if we were to take a selfie of the soul, in internal, selfie of the soul, then we will see that there is not one true I. There's many, many small I. And the more I that are present, then the mind is never silenced. The mind is, we are doing one thing, and then the mind is going to another eye, and there are so many threads that are there to be pulling our attention and our focus. And so when we untask the soul, which means in meditation, we come out of all the characters that we are playing, all the roles that we are playing, multiple hats that we have to juggle with. How do we do that? With, again, the very clear and crystal perspective on the true self. The soul is not defining itself by how people rate my role, how people rate my character, or nothing on the basis of outside. The soul is self-aware of the beauty, of the power of the soul. And in this state, this is like in untasking. And now that with this consciousness, with this awareness, whichever role I will perform, I may be given a task that needs, 2 days to be completed, because the soul is not, overly, not overly is not the word, but because the soul is not attached with any other identification, with anything temporary. If something needs 2 days, maybe I can finish it in a couple of hours. That's how that's how attention will be so laser focused. So that can be achieved through meditation and having a clear understanding of the temporary I, that we start to believe that this is the true self. So coming out of that confusion.
Beautifully explained. And there's so much more that I need to unpack there as well. But just going into the next question. Once, whenever I was doing like a task, not a task, but I was given an opportunity to speak in front of the public, or given an important project, there's always fear. I know we talked about fear being the very least emotion, but there's always some kind of a fear, which is actually sometimes a good thing, because it drives you with your courage to sort of say, look, I can do this. So one of my teachers at that time told me, what other people think of you is none of your business. What do you think about that? Do you think we should care about what other people think of us? Or because there's always going to be people that are not happy with you?
I'd say that, fear is because we are again identifying with an image. Like I may be going for driving a car, and if I have this very strong image, and that I'm a very good driver, then there can be sometimes a feeling of superiority, and then there'll be some moments where there's a feeling of inferiority. So there's always this, pendulum, one time feeling superior, the other time inferior, and then there's always this constant comparison going on. And with the understanding of the true self, there's never a feeling of being superior or inferior. There's this constant respect and respect for the soul, and regard for all the characters and all the roles. And when we say that what other people think about us, I think we, as part of the humble aspect of things, we should be open to learning what other people think about us, or if anybody has a feedback to give, any opinion to give. And there should be this openness that I am happy to take everything, listen to everything. And again, while listening to it, I will not be judging myself, bashing myself for being super, critical. However, I just be an, non-judgmental listener, so for whatever is being said or whatever I'm hearing. And then I can sit with myself and really evaluate, understand what is something that I'd like to take from here and something that I'd like to drop it. And once I drop any of the opinions, then it's dropped forever. It shouldn't be clinging on to my mind. So to be able to do that, absolute humility and absolute realization, awareness of the beauty of how beautiful every soul is.
Every down is followed by an up, and every up is not permanent. So how do we handle these ups and downs in life?
With the ups and downs, we always know that life is a game. We've heard that, we've said that life is a game, which means that if it's a game, then full stop, it's a game, which means that sometimes there's victories and sometimes there's losses, sometimes there is high and there's low. And so that's the nature of the outside world, and that's the nature of things. So my perspective in everything is that I am a player here, and so the attitude is a playful one. Neither the victory is permanent, neither the loss is permanent. And so life has highs and lows. Once we just accept the nature of the physical world, the drama that is going 24/7, then there is easiness, there's lightness, there is no blame, there is no insecurity, and that's how we start enjoying the highs as well and the lows as well, because there's no attachment to a certain way of things, for things to be. There's no obsession that it should be this way, and it shouldn't be this way. There's no obsession, there's no need to be obsessed. When we are in a game, when we're on the field, 1 minute I'm giving my best and I'm in the game because I want to win. But if I if I hit a shot which didn't go very well, I can't even spend 1 second in guilt and 1 second in disappointment, because I have to be ready for the next second. And so that's how life is meant to be, that there's one thing that didn't go according to how I was hoping. I moved to the next second. That's how fast the game is. We can't sit there and cry and go into guilt and be disappointed and disheartened. The player is always playing the game, first of all, for enjoyment. That's the whole purpose of playing a game. And if I win, it's good. And if I lose, I learn. Simple. There's the simplicity. Yeah.
Yes, simplicity. Life coming from simplicity, leading a simple life. We becoming too materialistic, and should we have a balance between materialistic and simplicity, or should we move towards simplicity altogether?
The natural nature of the soul is to be simple, which means no complications, no complications and overthinking and overanalyzing and just overly critical. So simple means very simple energy, very simple thoughts. Simplicity doesn't mean ordinary. Simplicity is in itself an extraordinary quality. It's the beauty of the soul, and which starts at the level of our perspective of the world stage. And so that's how there's a lot of, somebody was simplicity means being natural. You can also say that. And somebody was asking me that, somebody was telling me, actually, it's so funny that everyone likes to look simple, and everyone likes to look natural. And so there's a whole set of makeup going on, like natural makeup look and natural. So somewhere we know that natural beauty is the best one, as the simplicity is the most attractive quality. However, even for that simplicity, we're finding an unnatural way. And so, which doesn't mean that we shouldn't be doing all of that. But what it means is that it starts with simple thoughts, simple mind, not over analyzing things, not over complicating things. And once we start to do that, if success at all level follows, we don't have to follow the success at the career level or financial level or at the level of relationships. Once the soul is simplifying, we say that once you simplify, you simply fly. And so it's very true that once the soul is simplifying, you're simplifying in your identity, in your perspective, you go into a higher consciousness. It's like almost like flying, like a flying consciousness, never clinging on to anything, never obsessing over something, just flying and flying. And with this flying stage of the mind, naturally, success is attracted at all levels, materialistic, whether it's materialistic or academic.
Yes. Speaking of flying, a lot of people say when they reach a certain stage of meditation, they have a feeling of flying to, whether it's the trans world or some other kind of nirvana feeling, or I haven't personally experienced that, so I cannot comment. But is there such a thing that you feel like you're flying once you've reached that stage where you've left your thoughts and your body behind in the meditative state, when you are connected to the higher source?
Yes, there may be some spiritual experiences, out of body experiences or near death experiences where the soul is really free from, everything else that in the physical world, or all the, self-created attachments, so to say, or the bondages. The bondages from the mind, that this is mine and this is mine, whereas we know that this is a stage, and for an actor, nothing that is on the stage belongs to him. It's just a prop. It's just a prop. And it's, as much as that is true, that there are experiences where we can have that experience of literally flying the soul, coming out of the body. However, what we aim to do is that nothing in this, there's any scene of this drama, from one scene to the other, 1 hour to the other, there should be nothing that is holding on to my consciousness, or nothing that is, clinging on to me. The soul is from 1 hour to the next hour, just passing on. And so that is the flying consciousness that we were talking about. It's a consciousness which is not obsessing over anything, which is not wanting and needing anything. The soul is perfect. So the perfect soul, playing different roles and playing a certain character, but the consciousness is flying. Nothing is tying down the soul. None of the attachments, none of the identities, any role or any character, nothing is tying the soul. So that is the flying consciousness.
Yes. You've said initially that you've done some studies in Buddhism and you've gone to a Christian school, and there's a lot of people that talk about enlightenment, and some other people talk about transformation. Some people say that Lord Buddha was an enlightened soul. What does the word enlightened actually mean? And what's the difference between enlightenment and transformation?
Enlightenment just means that, the light is shining inside, which means that I'm conscious of my inner richness and inner beauty, the divinity, the angelic, presence that the soul is, the immortal being is. And so the light is shining on this truth. That's enlightenment. It may be through some aha moments, but it's not that our it's not that one day so and so will reach enlightenment. It's a constant process of shining the light on the truth, which is inside, which is in the inner world, the truth that never changes. For the soul, the soul is always blissful. The soul's natural nature is always of peace, always of clarity. And so whenever we shine the light on this truth, then it's there is transformation, inner transformation and outer transformation. And so transformation is also part of that journey. I'll say that, yeah, enlightenment means that shining light on the truth, on the true self.
So it's always looking inwards, basically.
Yes, from inside to the outside.
So Sister Ananya, how do you start your day? And if I could ask, how do you end your day?
Yes, I think for all of us, it's true that before we get into our, different roles and, start playing, doing multiple tasks, the morning time is quite a free time. It's like I can set that time aside for myself. And so we begin our day by having meditation in the morning, 1 hour meditation, ideally. It's a very quiet time, and it's a beautiful time to fill ourselves and prepare ourselves internally, for the day. In the morning, we pack our lunch boxes and we fill our water bottles, we charge our phones, and everything's ready for the day. All the gadgets are ready. And so am I ready, for the day, for the situations and the game of life and the ups and the downs? So am I ready for that? So we just prepare ourselves, sitting in powerful meditation, self-reflection, and taking in power from the Supreme. And after that, 1 hour of spiritual study that sets the foundation for the day, some values, some reminders, some takeaways that I'll keep with me throughout the day. And as the day goes on, taking a 1 minute pause every 1 hour, so that the mind, that I remember that I'm an invisible player and I'm an invisible actor, and that's my true identity. And this is just a role I'm playing, and the game is going on. The invisible player is just happy to be part of the game. And so after every hour, if we keep, reminding ourselves every 1 minute, then the constant state of being is undisturbed. It's a very peaceful, it's a very stable mind that is very valuable for the self, and it's also very helpful and valuable for everyone who's around me. And so just before we end the day, just checking how things were, internally, everything, if there's any stored hurt or disappointment, just erasing that from the memory track and preparing ourselves for the next day with a positive and, optimistic attitude. And this, really helps to keep healing the self. Sometimes there are things that get accumulated for months and months, which can create some problems at the level of consciousness or at the level of mind. So if we keep checking ourselves before sleeping, then we don't take one day, whatever life situations happened in today's day, we don't pass it on to the next day. The next day is a new chapter, new page to write. So we look at the new day with a new attitude.
Yes, I actually start my day with some affirmations and firstly, I start my day with attitude of gratitude to say thank you for the day, the upcoming day. Also, do some affirmations in terms of who I am and what I want to achieve, but I visualize it. So it's not just saying it. There's a component of my brain that just, of course, says it, but I've understood that if you visualize what you say, those things are actually manifested easily.
Of affirmations, assist and support our meditation, practice, seeing the truth and shining light on the truth. And so affirming the true qualities and the true nature of the being, like, we can say and, feel really deeply that the soul is never a victim, soul is never a beggar, it's never a slave. The soul is always a master, the true being is always a master. And having this affirmation, early in the morning or at night, takes us takes us beyond a lot of ego games. It really creates this lightness and this ease inside. And so the soul loves to be beyond the drama, the scenes of the day. And the the soul naturally enjoys peace and calm and silence. The soul is beautiful and the soul is the truth. So truth is always beautiful. So thoughts like, reaffirming the true self, multiple times during the day really supports our practice.
Could you expand on what you mean by victim, beggar, slave?
There are many, situations in this drama, and because of the identity crisis, because of confusing, my identity with something that I'm not, that is not my truth. Like I would say again, with people, with position, with place, when we deeply identify with something that is not my true identity, which is not my truth. Truth means something that never changes. And so people who are there in our life, that changes, position, place, everything is vulnerable to change. And so whenever we confuse ourselves with a wrong identity, then there is this, in any society, the lowest denominations in any society is of a slave, a beggar, a victim. And so because of this identity crisis, if often ego tricks us into thinking that I am, please talk to me nicely, please say good morning to me, please respect me. And so there's this attitude of begging, for love and respect and acceptance. And so once we realize, once our reference point is the truth, then we realize that the soul is in reality, absolutely complete and absolutely fulfilled. And so the soul is never a beggar. A soul is never a slave. A soul is a master. It's like an invisible prince. And the soul is never a victim. It's just how the ego tricks us into thinking. So when we shine the light on this subject, although it's a very broad subject, however, in essence, this is what I can share.
Okay, thank you. A lot of people today are looking for happiness. They're looking for peace. Is there a secret to achieve such a thing?
The secret would be, the secret is present to us all the time. It's like it's just under our nose, but we are not aware of it. And the secret is that the soul is an invisible actor and this world is a stage. And so whenever we can shine the light on this truth, in this true aspect of the soul, there's natural happiness. do not seek happiness, we're not running for happiness, or we are not doing things in the present moment to be happy tomorrow. But there's this natural happiness because joy, is the nature of the soul. And so
Mm.
the secret is that, this is, we are going through life, and for life, is a game, and there are ups and downs, and the secret is that everything is perfect here. Everything is perfect. All the characters that we are seeing are perfect. Every character that we meet in our life at a certain point in time, it's all perfect timing. People say divine timing, and every soul behind those characters, we may like them, we may not like them. However, the truth is that everything is a dance of perfection. And this is the secret of happiness, for seeing everything as it is.
It's very beautifully explained. If only we get that. So life would be so much simpler. How can we achieve tolerance, acceptance, cooperation from each other? Why can't we just all get along? One of the things that I learned from you is that there are 8 powers that we have, or we should seek within us, of tolerance, of cooperation, of withdrawal. Do you want to expand on that, and can they help us achieve clarity in who we are?
Yes, actually, all the powers of the soul, sometimes what happens is that sometimes something is, as I said, right under our nose, but we keep missing to see it. Sometimes, we're kicking, sometimes we are cooking in the kitchen, and there may be some ingredient that I only use for some recipes. And so every time I'm cooking that recipe, I'll look in the kitchen, I search for that ingredient and I don't find it. And so I immediately go to the market and get another one. And oftentimes, when we're actually cleaning the kitchen, we find that, oh, I already had 4 bottles of that, present. But because I wasn't looking for it in the right place, or I actually had forgotten that I had it, so I went outside looking for it. And so it is just that, as you said earlier, that what is consciousness? So what am I conscious of? When I'm not conscious that I already have it, then I will start looking for it outside. And so the basic, foundation of what we're doing and what we are learning here is that we already have it, like there's a quote by Rumi saying that, you are what you are looking for. And so
My
all of
favorite
this.
quote. Sorry to interrupt. What you said.
Yes.
My chart. Yes, sorry, go
Yes.
on.
And so, it is like that we may be looking for, power outside, we're looking for control outside, but that's the essence of who I am. I am a very powerful being. But when I forget it, when I'm not conscious of it, I'm looking for it outside. So meditation is a very, very simple journey. It takes time. It takes practice. However, it's very simple. Nothing about it is complicated. And so the simplicity is that, what am I conscious of? If for 1 hour I sit and I become conscious of my true self, that the soul is, powerful. I am a powerful being. I am a respected being, and for the rest of 16 hours or 17 hours, I tell myself, oh, I am so emotional, I get hurt so easily, and all of that. So then that 1 hour will not dominate my consciousness. So we have to be very careful of what's going inside, what sort of inner talk is going inside. Not just when we sit and meditate, but when we sit with others and when we sit with our own self. And so never, never I should have this feeling that I am a victim. No, because truly the soul always has the power and always has the choice to, create a change. And so
Yeah.
it always has the power, and I just have to become conscious of what I have. So as soon as the light starts to shine on this, the truth, then it's not that it starts to increase or it decreases. It's either there or it's not there. So the light is on and everything is there. The light is off, nothing's there, nothing's visible.
Yes. Yeah, it's just a matter of switching it on. I believe opportunities are given to you by the universe when you are truly ready. Do you resonate with that quote?
Yes, I think, everything's it's happening when whatever is happening outside is what the, at that time, whatever my level of consciousness is, and for that consciousness, for that level to expand and to increase, to go on to the next level, whatever is needed, that is given to me, that is present to me. I may see it as, I may not see it as an opportunity, I may see it as something else, but always the universe, the nature, the drama of life is always there to support, and expand our level of consciousness. It's always giving us opportunities and rather messages, it's always giving us messages.
Yes. What about pain messengers? Sometimes when a body is in pain, whether it's our arm or our ankle or a certain part of our body, it's always a messenger that, well, of course, the first message is you need to correct that pain from that particular part of the body, but there is a deeper message that pain brings. What is that deeper message? Do you want to elaborate?
Yes. Messages, as you said, that whenever our body, if the position of how I'm sitting is not right or how I'm eating is not right, then immediately there's a message in the form of pain. If I haven't eaten right, then it's not a very pleasant message, but if there's a pain message that comes, some sort of disease will pop up. That's a message that correct your diet. If I'm not sitting in the right posture, then there'll be a message in the form of a physical, problem, in the form of backache, headache, something, which is a message that correct your posture. And so similarly, whenever we experience emotional pain, whenever we're experiencing pain in a relationship or financial pain or wherever, then it's a message for the soul, for the true actor, for the true eternal self, that correct your posture. Your posture is not on the basis of truth. It's not correct. It's not right. And so pain is always a messenger.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so the final question for this time around is clarity. A lot of people are seeking clarity of who they are, clarity of where they belong, clarity of is there a bigger purpose to their existence? Sometimes they even question, why they are on this earth at this particular time, etc. So could you share your thoughts on that version of clarity?
Yes, clarity means, making complete sense of everything in and outside, everything going on in this story and then the drama of life. And so making sense, it's like a clarity. With clarity, we can experiment with a new perspective. The new perspective is of the truth, but we can experiment, like we have an option, to come out of confusion and into the light. There is confusion when the light is off. We cannot see anything clearly. We're not clear of where things are, and so there's a lot of, there's anxiety, there's fear that I may touch something that I'm not supposed to, I may drop something. And so as clarity means, as soon as that the light is turned on, the knowledge is there, the light is shining on the eternal truth, then in a second, we can make complete sense of everything. There's no fear, there's no confusion, there is, simplicity, there's easiness, because now that the lights are on, there's nothing that I need to fear, there's nothing that's holding me back. And so I'm very clear with my attitude and vision. So clarity means knowledge. Clarity means having the complete picture of who I am, who I belong to, and this game of life.
In terms of clarity, you also, in the course that I took with you, you talked about the fact that, as a metaphor, we are all eagles, but we behave like chickens. Would you like to share that story in the name of clarity?
Yes, I think the story is a very nice one. That there's a group of chickens, and they find an egg, and that egg, eventually it turns out that it's an egg of an eagle, and the bird comes out, and the baby eagle, is surrounded by lots of chickens. And so, they always look at him, that this is a funny looking chicken. He doesn't look like us. But this baby eagle, he tries to eat like the chickens. He tries to sleep like the chickens, like to walk like the chickens, and likes to do everything, tries his best to be the best chicken. And one day he is looking at the sky, and he sees an eagle flying, and spreading its wing and flying so high. And it tells its, friends, that all the chickens, that I wish I can fly like that. Who is that? And then the chickens tell him that, that's the king of all the birds. That's an eagle, but you are only a chicken. And so then, eventually he dies like a chicken, which is a very good reminder of, of what we are doing and who we are. We may be trying to become the best mom and the best dad and the best teacher, and trying and trying and trying. However, we are, the true self is a very powerful being, and it doesn't have to try to become, all these roles and characters. It is naturally beautiful. And so when it stabilizes itself in the angelic, the divine being that it is, all the roles that are, coming my way, I play them with perfection. But if I just think of myself as just being a chicken, and I can spend my entire life trying to be the best chicken, but because I'm not the role, I'm not the character, it will, never be enough.
Yes, very good reminder. So we just need to soar and fly high, and not realize that we're chickens. We're actually eagles, and we can fly, and we can come out of the loophole of being the characters that we play.
Yes, as you said before, that we're not here to have some spiritual experiences, but we are spiritual beings. We are complete spiritual beings, and spiritual experience, having spiritual experiences is our natural way of being, because we are the true spirit.
Yes. What we seek to achieve is our, IQ level, the intelligence quotient. What we should be seeking is our, improving our emotional quotient. But more than that, our spiritual quotient is the most critical thing that the soul is here to find, from the IQ to the EQ and the SQ, which are not talked about today. The EQ and the SQ. Well, EQ is something that people are starting to realize, but then there's a whole new level of SQ. Thank you, Sister Ananya, for all of this.
Thank you.